Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody in the sane and rational world. I'm Paul Elam with A Voice for Men, and I am joined with the one and only Mike Buchanan of Justice for Men and Boys and the Women Who Love Them. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Hi, Paul. I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good. Can't complain too much. It's good to have you here.
Good.
Folks, we got ICMI, the International Conference on Men's Issues, this time for year 2016 in London, the UK, coming up July 8th through 10th. And we wanted to chat a little bit about that. I want to remind everybody right away that there is a link in the low bar to purchase your tickets for this event. It's another no-miss thing. There's a bunch of people speaking from a bunch of countries, and we're going to have, I think, do they still say jolly good time, Mike, where you're from?
Very rarely, Paul.
Well, let me reinstitute the tradition. We're going to have a jolly good time in the UK this July. You know, ICMI, which is hopefully becoming a tradition, started, as many people know, in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. Mike was with us, one of the speakers at that event. It was preceded by a ton of controversy, protests in the streets of Detroit, all kinds of sabotage in the mainstream press, and by God, we still had it anyway. And we had a great time there too. Lots of speakers, 15 speakers over 2.5 days of talking, plus a press conference. And it turned out to be one of the most amazing times for a lot of people, MRAs and other concerned people, not just MRAs, but people in general who have any concerns for issues faced by men and boys, converged from all over the world in one place for the first time, for not the first conference on men's issues, but definitely the first conference of its kind, where we're really starting to get down to brass tacks about what those issues really are, and in particular about how feminism plays a role in interfering with amelioration of those issues. We got a bigger one coming up. This is bigger and better. And Mike, with that, can you start us out by just telling us a little bit about what's happening in London in July?
Yeah, well, we have over the course of 2.5 to 3 days, 20 speakers presenting, a press conference at the beginning, and we have speakers or delegates coming from 16 countries at the last count.
16 countries.
16. I think 6 or 7 of those are in Europe alone. So we have obviously the States and Canada. We have an interesting guy coming from Mexico City. Now he hadn't pre-registered, and when he found out about the pre-registration phase and that he couldn't buy a ticket, he got a bit cross. So he demanded proof from me that there had been a pre-registration phase. I don't know if he thought it's some sort of conspiracy, but anyway, so I sent him a link, and he demanded that I send him links to other announcements, and I just refused, and I didn't hear any more from him. But when the tickets went on general sale at the end of the pre-registration process, he was the first in line. So I sent him a very warm email response. I didn't hear back from him. So I don't know if we have a very grumpy Mexican guy coming to the conference, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. But we have people from as far afield as Australia, India, of course. Finland, Sweden, Norway. We have a speaker from Norway.
You ran the whole thing on Scandinavia.
The Scandinavians are pretty interested. Yeah. So we have a number of people coming from Sweden, Finland, Norway. A speaker from Norway, a speaker from Germany, Spain, Netherlands, and just for Luchen's benefit, Romania. Got to get that in there. Italy, so I've probably missed 2 or 3, but it truly is an international event in terms of who's coming.
Wow, who's coming from Antarctica?
No, you got me there.
Well, it sounds like almost it's the only country that you've missed.
I think so.
To let everybody know, this is in the official capacity. This is co-sponsored between J4MB and ABFM, but this is Mike's baby. It's Mike's project. He has built this thing from the ground up, and by all indications, Mike, you're doing a wonderful job. So tell me, can you give us some details about some of the topics that'll be covered in the conference?
Yes. Okay. Goodness me, where to start? I guess the obvious one, given that we're both very interested in MGM, is the Global Survey of Circumcision Harm by Tim Hammond, who's flying over from California. But he's done some remarkable research in the way of circumcision harm. He's there's a video that we put out of him from I think about 8 or 9 months ago. But he's developing a brand new presentation for the conference, so I'm very much looking forward to that. The keynote speaker is Erin Pitsey, of course, and we have some of the great honey badgers, Karen Strawn, Janice Fiamengo, Janet Bloomfield. I'm sure I missed one or two there. And we have Kathy Gingell, who's who's a co-founder of what I regard as an absolutely remarkable website. There's nothing else like it in the UK, at least. I don't know about anywhere else, but it's called The Conservative Woman. And Kathy Gingell is speaking on feminism and family dysfunction, and basically about how feminism has been a disaster for men, women, and children. Apart from men, women, and children, it's been a complete success.
Yeah, except for destroying our families and eroding the trust between men and women and making the divorce rate go into the stratosphere. It's been a wonderful movement. Wow, you've got Erin Pitsey, Karen Strawn, you've got Janet Bloomfield, Kathy Gingell. Mike, you're going to destroy our reputation as women haters this way.
Yeah, but I mean, they are, they're going to be such great speakers, and there's nobody saying, "Oh, hang on, you got women to make up a quota or something." They're just all damn good speakers. Yeah,
they are. Well, they will say, the opposition will say that they're filling a quota, or they're self-loathing women. And I always found that one particularly laughable. I would like to see somebody call Erin Pitsey a self-loathing woman to her face. I don't think that would be a pretty sight when it was over with. Or any of these women. These women are unflinching advocates with just jam-packed full of agency and autonomy. They're the most independent, intelligent women I know. And of course, I don't know Jessica Valenti, so she may prove me wrong on all of them. But this is really a great group, and there's going to be, I know, a lot of great topics there. If I can interject, Mike, for my part, one of the things that I want to do with ABFM in the future is to really inject a more analytical and historically accurate perspective on gynocentrism, especially as it relates to feminism, because I think that is our sort of next step for us. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, MGM and what's happening in education. I know Sage Gerard is going to address some of that. There's a lot of different aspects of what's going on in the men's movement, but underlying all that, at least in my opinion, is that gynocentrism is a subject that needs to be understood a lot better, particularly by men's advocates, in order for us to move forward and possibly have more efficacy at our work. So I'll be addressing that. What else is going on besides that? Many, many pints of ale.
Well, there are a few male speakers, of course.
Oh, good. So I'm not going to be the only one.
No. I think we got about 15 token males.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really good.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that there's a pint or two of beer, but it is a great location, a great venue, and I'm hoping to do a video in the next week or two from there, maybe just 5 minutes. Just giving people a flavor of just what an astonishing venue it is. I mean, one whole side of the conference room is basically floor to ceiling glass panels, so it'll be wonderful natural daylight, and it is just kind of it is a Rolls-Royce conference venue, Paul. I can say that hand on heart. It is it's the best venue in the country.
That is outstanding. So that'll be definitely an improvement from ICMI 14, which started out with a Rolls Royce of a venue. And as you know, what you can find on 2 weeks notice is sometimes somewhat limited. We still had a good time anyway. But certainly, yes, the attendees deserve a top shelf venue to attend. And that's exactly what Mike's gotten. Remind everybody one more time. If you want to attend this conference, tickets have been on sale for a while. There are some left, but by all means, get them quick. There is a link in the low bar for you to be able to be a part of another history-making event for getting men's issues into the mainstream. Yeah. So what about media? You say you're having
sorry, Paul, just staying on the ticket front. We keep telling people, look, there is a ceiling number. We cannot go beyond 200 in the venue. And I keep saying to people, don't leave it late, because I know damn well when the 200 ticket sells, people are going to be coming on saying, oh, well, I'm ready to buy mine now. And I mean, tickets are not going to be on sale at the venue. We're planning to stop selling them on June the 5th, about 4 weeks before the event. So we
oh wow, okay,
yeah. So there's only about I guess, I mean, there's a bit more than 3 months left to do it. So if people want to be at this, what I think will be a historic and memorable event, they really need, they should be buying now.
Yeah, absolutely, folks, and I'll testify to this, that probably 18-20% of our ticket sales came in the last 3 weeks before the conference. And what Mike is telling you is that those people won't be able to buy tickets. He's going to stop selling on June the 5th. And so you want to, if you haven't gotten your ticket by then, you may have a problem getting one. So I suggest you go in and get them now.
Yeah.
What about media? Now, there is a press conference that's going to be there. Do you have...
On the Friday morning? We're still working on the timetable, Paul, but planning a press conference of an hour or two, mid to late morning on the Friday, and then probably have lunch, and then talk starting after that.
Okay, so it'll on the Friday. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so press conference in the morning of Friday. That will be the 8th.
Yes.
And speakers will begin in the afternoon after lunch. Is there?
That's the plan.
Are there local eateries or restaurants in the complex there or in the neighborhood?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, both, Paul. It's London's biggest conferences and venues venue by a country mile. So yeah, I mean, plenty of places to eat, and plenty of both at the venue but also nearby. So people are not going to be short of somewhere to get a drink and some food. Okay, excellent.
Now, are you expecting? We had a pretty significant show up of media at the first conference. Are you expecting something similar? Have you had media contacts?
We've taken the position. Oh yes, we've certainly had contacts, and we've had people applying and registered for the press conference. We're giving media representatives free passes to the conference, but not at the moment to the press conference, but not to the remainder of the conference. And the reason is this ceiling on numbers. There's something in me that sort of objects to giving, let's say, a Guardian journalist a free ticket and thereby denying men's rights advocates the opportunity to attend. So at the moment, there are no free media passes for the whole events, but media are buying them. Some interesting titles, which that I wouldn't like to say on air, Paul, but some interesting titles.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, I understand.
Organizations, I should say, yeah.
Well, that ought to be interesting. I mean, one of the things that was, it was what I call an expected disappointment out of the media
Yes.
the first time
Yes.
around. We knew that they were coming there not to do a story, but to try to gather, anything negative that they could, and they certainly didn't disappoint in that respect.
Yeah.
However, in the past 2 years since that conference, the narrative has begun to change a little bit. It has begun to include more and more acknowledgement of men's issues in media. Do we have reason to feel hopeful, Mike? Do you think we should, or should we expect the same usual suspects to show up?
Difficult to say, Paul, but I mean, there's no doubt that the media is picking up on the crazier sort of manifestations of feminism. So we recently had this dreadful thing that I know you're well aware of, about a 51-year-old man who was charged with sexually assaulting a 60-something-year-old actress whilst walking in the opposite direction. And he had a newspaper in one hand, and he was clutching a bag with the other, and yet somehow he still managed to sexually assault a 61-year-old actress walking in the opposite direction. I mean, the guy's Superman. On
a train platform, mind you.
On a train platform with CCTV cameras everywhere. Yes. And you may or may not be aware, but the CCTV footage played in court was slowed down at the point in time that the two passed, so as to give the impression that the assault may have happened.
Yes, let's explain that in a little bit more detail, folks. In this case, where the actress alleged that she was sexually assaulted by a man, the video, the prosecution in this case, their actual contact was so brief, it lasted somewhere in the neighborhood, if there was contact, they were either in brief physical contact, passing each other, or just very close, but it lasted about 1/2 of a second.
Yeah.
And the prosecution in the case doctored the video. Let's use the right language here. They doctored the video so that it slowed down at their point of contact, and this is without telling the jury, so that it appeared to take twice as long as it did. But of course, still, since there was no assault, the jury didn't buy it. I don't know what the prosecution was thinking with that idiot move, but they slowed it down. They doctored evidence. They fabricated evidence in a way in a sexual assault trial, and the jury still didn't buy it. And of course, there has been no sanctions on the prosecution whatsoever about this, which I find just mind-blowing. But
no, it's an astonishment, but we now have another one, and intriguingly at the same damn railway station. I think it's a railway station that men should keep away from, to be honest. But it was a married male lawyer in his, I would guess about 50 from the pictures, who by all accounts was having sex in public with a QC, another senior lawyer.
And that's Queen's Counsel, correct?
Yes. The two of them were drunk, arrested, and put in the cells for the night, hopefully separately. And the next morning, both accepted a police caution and went on their way. 6 weeks later, 6 damned weeks later, she says she claims she was sexually assaulted, and thereby has anonymity for life on this, regardless of how the case turns out. While the man's picture is all over, he's a top London lawyer. His face is everywhere. And this damn woman, and I think we know who she is. It only takes a Google search on the guy's name to find her.
Let me just go ahead and take the opportunistic moment that I'm bound to take. Folks, Queen's Counsel, that is the same thing as a prosecutor in the United States, a DA. And this is a DA that had, by all evidence, voluntary consensual sex in public. She's married, and after 3 weeks of figuring out that it took her 3 weeks to figure out that if she didn't claim rape, that her name could be put in the press. So she claimed rape. And now her name is going to be kept confidential, and this guy's in big trouble. I would suggest that AVFM would be very appreciative of anybody that can confirm the identity of this woman. It is, according to UK law, it is illegal to publish her name since she's identified, not proven, but identified as an alleged victim of rape. But just like it was in the last case, and why I produced a video that named the false accuser in the case that we were talking about first, the evidence here is staggering that this is a lie, just absolutely staggering. And so I would like this woman's name, and I will publish it if I get it, but I won't do it unless I have absolute confirmation of her identity from 2 reliable sources. We have one source. If somebody else would like to independently be able to give us this woman's name and prove that they have, that this is absolute proof of her identity, I would certainly be most appreciative, and I'm sure that those involved in the cause for those falsely accused of sexual crimes for conveniences such as this, to protect a career, she is going to accuse a man of rape.
But I mean, the law in the UK, as you may know, Paul, is very tortuous in this area. So, you know, a drunk woman could be deemed to not be in a position to give consent, even if she's a QC. You know, but the idea that, you know, a QC, you know, can be deemed to have no moral agency is just, you know, if you can't expect it of a QC, then who can you expect it from?
Well, after the prosecution of that last case, I think the question of moral agency is certainly on the table to be asked, if it even exists in prosecutors. And a lot of that will go back to Saunders. What's Saunders' first name again?
Alison Saunders.
Alison Saunders, who is basically, I don't know what the title is, but she is the head prosecutor. She's the director of public prosecutions. She's worked at the Crown Prosecution Service for 30 years. She did virtually nothing before it, and she's just been awarded our Toxic Feminist of the Month award on the strength of cases like this. It has been nothing. Well, let's get it clear why this happened, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. Last year, Saunders came under intense fire and scrutiny for failing to prosecute a member of her office for child abuse. And she's been playing the political hot potato ever since, saying that now that she pledges to increase prosecutions of sexual assaults by 1/3. Now, of course, that's the language of a quota. When you give a number, we're going to increase it by 1/3, not we're going to prosecute as many legally viable cases as we can, but simply flat out, we're going to increase the numbers by X amount of people that we prosecute. Then you end up with cases like this where a man is alleged to have sexually assaulted a woman on a train platform in front of countless people at rush hour and with CCTV cameras everywhere. And the jury didn't buy it for a second, but these are the kind of prosecutions that they're starting to see in the UK, and well, probably across Western culture as a whole. But in particular, the laws in the UK are just opening men up to these charges for the sake of convenience for politicians now. It's absolutely unspeakable what's happening.
It is. And we can track it all back to the 2003 Sexual Offences Act, which was basically drawn up by radical feminists. So introduced ideas like, for example, rape can only be done by a penis.
Yeah,
So I mean, women cannot rape, physically cannot rape. It's just I mean, it's just the corruption of the legal process, and obviously the lawmaking processes are just absolutely extraordinary.
It certainly is. I know we certainly see that here, especially on our college campuses where due process has been all but turned into a joke. And fortunately now we're starting to see universities sue on that. And I'm sure that may be a topic that Sage Gerard broaches when he speaks about what's happening on college campuses. At any rate, folks, this is a little piece of history about to happen here. All of us at ICMI 14, almost everybody there, had the type of event that, while it wasn't under ideal circumstances, not near as nice as what we're about to experience in London, it still left us with a sense of camaraderie and a sense of accomplishment in that, in face of, against all odds, with people across the United States and in other countries trying to silence us, trying to shut us up. Protesters on the streets of Detroit, threats, death threats. We had that event anyway, in defiance of all the pressure. And it created a real sense, I think, of camaraderie between all the attendees. And I can only think we're going to see, I know that there's a few of the speakers that were at the first event. Mike certainly was there. I was there. Aaron Pitsey was there. Sage Gerard was there. He didn't speak at the last event, but he's moved up in the world a bit since then and has really become a voice of advocacy for college campuses. I'm really appreciative to see the more intense focus on male genital mutilation. This is, I don't know, Mike, I don't want to run us into a long diatribe on that, but it's my feeling that if we can't protect the genital integrity of infant boys, how on earth can we even talk about being concerned about their rights in any other aspect of life?
I agree. It's the most extraordinary example of the empathy gap.
Yes, it is.
Really is. It's undoubtedly illegal in the UK. And I was interested in the piece that Gary Costanza posted a day or two ago. It's illegal in the US and Canada. You know, the empathy gap is not going to disappear tomorrow. So we need to do other things to make people aware of it. So in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, we'll be protesting outside the largest MGM clinic in the UK, and of course the 4 doctors are on your known genital mutilators directory, and if you Google their names, your bit comes up, the J4MB comes up. I've had sort of threats of legal action from some people around all that, and I've said, I would love that day in court. Where
you must be doing something right.
Yeah. So you're basically going to be saying that I'm revealing that you're carrying out criminal offences in your clinic. Yeah, bring on that lawsuit.
By all means, yes. We have a long list at ABFM of glorious threats that never materialize into lawsuits. Our MO there is that when we get a demand letter or a cease and desist from an attorney, we just post it to the site and send them a link to it with I'd call it a brief response. But I mean,
it's an example. I mean, in the UK, I mean, I know you have some really, really good anti-MGM protests in the States, possibly Canada, I'm not sure. But there's a growing appetite here, Paul, for getting on the streets, and and I haven't yet announced anything, but on International Men's Day, we intend to have a protest in Parliament Square. I mean, not just on MGM, but fathers' rights, domestic violence, whole bunch of stuff, and and I really want something there that's going to really knock people's socks off in terms of the numbers.
Well, I'm sure you'll be getting us video of these events.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll post those certainly to ABFM. We'll embed from Mike's channel. And with that, I think we've covered all we need to. In the coming weeks ahead, folks, I'm going to try my best. My schedule's crazy, but I'm going to try my best once a week leading up to the event to bring on one of the speakers or somebody else associated with the event, and to talk about what's happening, the importance of it, the importance of your attendance, because of course, without those feet on the ground that Mike was just talking about, we're just a bunch of writers on the internet. We need people out there participating in events like the International Conference on Men's Issues, participating in events like Mike's sponsored protest of male genital mutilation, standing up to threats of lawsuits, taking to the streets with their voice about these issues. A voice for men is a good voice, but if it's just an internet voice, it wouldn't be near as effective. So I want to encourage everybody to come join the camaraderie, make some new friends, meet some of these people you've been reading for years, shake hands with them, break bread, raise a glass, because the real magic of these events, while the speakers are very good and very entertaining and very informative, the real magic here is in the connection that you make with other activists. And that's a really, really important part of making this movement grow. So with that, there is a link in the low bar. Go get your tickets today. Get them as soon as you see this, and come join us in London, July 8th through the 10th for International Conference on Men's Issues 16. Mike, is there anything you'd like to add before we close out?
No, just like to echo that point that it's difficult to exaggerate just how wonderful it is to meet people, shake hands, and break bread, as you say, and have a beer or two.
Well, or several more. We'll see. Or several more. Okay, well, with that, folks, I'll see you next week, where I'm going to try to corral Sage Gerard into coming to speak about this. We will periodically have Mike back on during these things, but we're going to do our part on this end to promote this conference, to let you know what's coming up, and to remind you of how important it is. With that, I want to thank you for dropping by. Please like and share this video, spread it around, tweet it to feminists, tweet it to, or put it on Facebook. And with that, thank you, and we'll see you next time.